social media, it's been around for a long time now. Is there enough research to better understand how the platforms can impact teenagers?
Well, as a researcher, I'll have to say I'm never quite sure that we ever have enough research, but certainly we're seeing increasingly large amounts of research indicating reasons for concern. And really what we're trying to do is sort out the more specific nature of those concerns.
Who is most at risk when it comes to social media use and when we're looking at the type of content that is being shared right now?
Well, I think the thing to remember is we need to be thinking a little bit about the age of the individuals that are consuming this. And one of the things that is true is that really it's been over the last 10 years that we've seen a rise in things like issues related to mental health, lower levels of well-being amongst teenagers. And this is the first generation that has basically grown up entirely with, among many other things, social media. So we worry about, of course, the content of social media, the kinds of things that they're seeing, the nature of the content, but we also worry about the nature of the connection to social media, the fact that social media drives and pushes content towards its consumers, and the fact that it has things built into it that draw out the amount of time that people spend with it. And so all of those things are things that we are increasingly starting to be concerned about as they impact developing teenagers.
It's so interesting when you say, like, it's a generation that has only grown up with social media. I cannot imagine what that is like. I'm glad that that isn't me. Okay, so then there's, I'll call it the flip side to it. What are some of the pros or the benefits of being on these platforms for teens?
There's a lot of positive things about social media, and I mean, they provide opportunities for people to connect not just with people in their local community, as we were able to do during COVID through social media, but also to connect to potentially quite useful and helpful groups, organizations, sources of information, potential sources of support, and all of those things are potentially very positive possible uses of social media.
Yeah. And among these new changes, so they include a notification if the teen is on Instagram for longer than 60 minutes and a sleep mode, I think it is from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Do you think that those changes are going to be effective?
Well, it depends on how consistently they are applied. I think one of the things that are important in looking at those two things that you mentioned in particular, the fact that children, teens under 16 years of age are going to have to get parental consent to shift those, is important, because we know that one of the issues, quite apart from content and social media at all, is how it interferes with the amount of sleep that teenagers are getting. Teenagers need a lot of sleep. In fact, in many ways, more than adults do, certainly. And so being able to limit the amount of time that app is going to be available, so let's say between 10 a.m. and 7 in the morning, can be a very positive thing. And then also putting limits or notification limits on the amount of time, number of hours in a day that they can spend are also important. Certainly from the research that we have, we know that that in addition to some concerns over content related to cyberbullying and those sorts of things, that one of the biggest issues is simply the amount of time. And so if you've got someone spending 5 to 6 hours a day on social media, then there's just awful lot of stuff they're not doing that they might otherwise be doing that would be developmentally beneficial.
Yeah. Mike, I know that there's so much we can talk about with this. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.